Hi there, my name's Andy. I'm a British modeller now living in Greece, not far out of Athens, and I thought it'd be an idea to let you know what projects I've been up to this spring 2014. Now, I don't know if many of you or some of you would recognise this model aircraft. It's a small line control plane, 22-inch wingspan, originally by the Keil Kraft company, sadly no longer available. It's the Keil Kraft Radian. Now, back in the late 70s, as a young teenager, I actually built an original from a Keil Kraft kit that was given to me by a friendly relative. If you want to build yourself one of these nowadays, sadly the company is no longer in business, so you have to go about it a different route. If you're very lucky, you might be able to find a kit, I don't know, on a swap meet maybe in the UK. Getting a new kit nowadays, you would probably be very lucky. But I went on to the internet, and there's a site called AutoZone run by a guy named Steve, a very helpful guy. He's set up a site that you can download free plans of many past models, be it kits or plans that are now obviously no longer in circulation. So he's compiled this site, and I was very happy when I saw the Keil Kraft Radian. I downloaded from the internet and had it printed off, and this is the plan. This is the original plan that you get. Okay, it gets it's all in imperial, but that doesn't matter because you can, if your balsa wood is metric, then you just convert it. For me, it was fairly simple, fairly straightforward to actually build the plane, because I've now, after so many years of model flying and model building, understand the layout of the plan. Okay, but for those who may not be quite so familiar, you also get the original Keil Kraft Radian instructions. Okay, assembly before you begin, building a fuselage, covering and finishing. You have two choices. You can either beam mount an engine, or you can have it on the front firewall. Okay, if it's got, like this one, the Cox 049, it's got its own tank, it's just screwed directly onto the front plywood firewall. Now, this engine is probably from pre-1960s. It belonged to my father, and to say that it's a little tired now may be a bit of an understatement. It flies the model quite nicely, but as for stunting, it's not going to happen. I did try to do a wing over, and it arrived, should I say, quite heavily, so I'm not going to do that with this model engine again. I do have an 061 small engine, but that's a radio control engine, and I'm a bit reluctant to put it on this plane, not for thinking of damaging the model, but for not wanting to damage the engine. The original that I flew back in the late 70s flew with again an 049, but it was a McCoy 049. Anyway, so that's just a little bit of nostalgia really. The model has a couple of interesting features for a plane of its size, which is quite small. It's not exactly a trainer. I wouldn't suggest that somebody who's never flown before flies this. Probably it could be done, but you'd have to have some help, or quite a lot of help. It has fully symmetrical wing, okay, and the other interesting feature is, like on larger planes, it has coupled flaps. Now, I've flown from the late 80s, basically, well, mainly radio control planes. It's only this year that I've gone back into trying my hand at control line, going down, like I say, memory lane. It was a pleasure to build this plane and to fly it. Okay, well, that's the Radian. The plan was, I think was submitted to the AutoZone by, it says here, drawn by Rebel Flying and Racing 2003. Now, I've not come across these guys, but they've helpfully drawn out a parts plan. Okay, now I didn't do this route, I just directly took dimensions and basically traced off the main plan onto the wood. But yeah, that's one way that you can get yourself flying a Keil Kraft radio control, line control Radian. Okay, I'll put that aside. The other project that I've been building is Demco's All-American Senior. Okay, first time ever, again downloaded from the Outer Zone website. I've not built from an American plan before, but the Americans, they do things a little bit differently. They have got all the information. You'd have to be, I think, a complete novice not to be able to put this aircraft together. And here is the model up as it is at the moment. Okay, uncovered, not actually finished construction. Okay, but to show you a little bit, there's the tank. The hardest part actually of this build was me building the brass tank. Okay, soldering the tank up together. I already had the undercarriage from a past radio control model aircraft, so that got pressed into service. Small saddle clamps, some blocks glued into the perch engine mount. Beautiful construction wing, absolutely fantastic. It did say actually in the instructions to build the plane wing in two halves and then glue them together. I didn't want to go that route, so I scarf jointed the pieces that were not long enough, okay, and then staggered one here this side, and on the tail, on the trailing edge it would be on the opposite side. And I tried to get it to go over, if possible, I didn't here, to go over a rib. Okay. What else? The other features that this model has is its offset wing. The length of the wing on the inside, okay, as it's going to be flying anti-clockwise, is about one panel longer. This, it says on the plan, it does away with the fact of having an offset rudder or even weight on the outer wing. And then that actually says there's some bold claims on this plan, which I'm quite interested to try and find out its flying characteristics. It says the power to weight ratio is greater due to having no braking effect on the rudder. Now I'm what I should say is an experienced novice. I've done line control flying in my younger days, but for 30 some odd years I've not been there. So I'm really excited as to how this is going to turn out. One last thing, I built myself a line control handle. Okay, now I've been searching the internet and it says that light is right, as is, it took me a long time to realise in my building radio control planes that the lighter the plane the better. It's pretty obvious, it's pretty straightforward and simple, but a light handle you get more feedback. Okay, aluminium tube, two stops either end, brass brackets, and this is not just one piece of 4.5mm ply, it's three pieces laminated of 1.5mm ply laminated together, so you get more laminates and it's a lot stronger. That's the theory, and I've had the grain going in different directions. Varnished up. I'm itching to get to use that to fly this plane. I've flown the Radian, I've not flown the Senior, the Demco's All-American Senior. This was from 1951, it says on the plan, designed 1951. The reason I'm doing that is because my father owned and flew with a Fox 500, sorry, a Frog 500, not Fox, a Frog 500, which is going to get pressed into service in this plane. So that's just a small bit of news about what I've been doing this spring. Okay, thanks for watching.